We just live in a society sometimes where we don't understand that we are worthy of self-care. We
Yeah.
deserve to have
Mhm.
joy. You deserve to be emotionally healthy. Like,
Yeah.
you are allowed to thrive. We don't have to live in burnout all the time. Balance is possible. I strongly believe that, even though we're taught like, no, you're never going to be in balance, which I'm like, that's
Mhm.
ridiculous. Not all the time you will be, but it is possible to be grounded. It is possible to use stress management techniques. It is possible to live a thriving, happy life.
Welcome to the What's a Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. Where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. As we always say, what's good, revolutionaries? I hope all is well, and that you're finding your community, and you're doing your thing, and that you're finding and embracing like what this means to be revolutionary in your life. You know, it's interesting as I think about this, like at the recording of this episode, like we're on fire and literally on fire. At least that's what it feels like to me. And for many of you revolutionaries who have reached out to me, you feel like you're on fire as well. When you look at the news, you see what's going on in your communities, what's going on in the world. You're like, wait, this is not the world that I imagined, or this is not the world that I thought I would be living in 2025. You know, I thought AI was going to actually do everything for me, and that I could wake up, sip my coffee, have the AI go out and, fetch the paper, do all my work for me, write my name on it, and then, I could go back with my family. But no, we're literally on fire. And that means a lot to us when we say that we're on fire. Usually what we say when you're on fire, you're burning. And oftentimes we get burned out. And if you remember last year, one of the most like prolific episodes that we had was with this gem, Dr. Nekeshia Hammond. And she came on and talked about mindset and burnout. And we were hoping to get her back because she dropped her first book back in September of last year, of 2024. And I was like, man, it resonated so well with you revolutionaries. We were like, we got to have her back. So welcome to the show
Thank
again,
you.
Dr.
Thank
Nekeshia
you. I'm excited
Hammond.
to be back. Excited to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
back.
yeah. It's a little bit of a reunion, as we say
Yes.
here. Yeah, two revolutionaries talking. Let's start here. Like, how are you?
I am good. I am good. I'm chuckling because I'm like, very busy, but trying my best to stay grounded through the busyness and the chaotic season that I'm in. But grateful, very grateful.
Yeah, gratitude is a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Talk about that. What does gratitude look like for you in your life?
Ooh, it is. I I love the idea of gratitude. It's something that honestly really, really changed my life because when you make the mindset shift, so a couple years ago, actually, I'm always looking for things to like better my own mental health as well. And, the things that I, of course, preach about mental wellness. And one of the things I was like, okay, as soon as I wake up in the morning, and I still do this to this day, my first thing has to be gratitude.
Yeah,
For me, it's going to God, but it doesn't have to be. So it's like, okay, thank you, God, for, fill in the blank, like every single morning. That's the first thing I do when I wake up, because it just starts your day in a different way because it's
yeah,
really easy to get bogged down in all the stuff, like you said, going on in the world,
mm,
instead of really taking a step back and understanding how blessed you are, even in the times of darkness, the trials, the
yeah,
tribulations, all the
yeah.
things, because there's plenty of things, but like really understanding how blessed you are and all the things you have to be grateful for. So that has been that practice alone, I mean, I have a lot of different practices, but
Mm.
that has been very helpful
Yeah.
in just kind of staying focused on what's important as you just navigate through life.
Yeah, particularly as I said earlier, when you're on fire, or the
Yeah.
perception of being on fire, because I think
Yeah.
that
It's a perception.
yeah, it's a perception that, and we'll get into your book and that mindset shift that we have to have.
Yeah.
But to be grateful, even when you may perceive that the world's on fire, is that I think about being able to spend time with my 85-year-old mother. 84, she
Wow.
turns 85. I need to stop giving her that extra years. She'll
Yeah.
be 80. Yeah, she'll
Don't
be
give it
85
extra
and
years.
never, no, no. She'll be like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
To be great, to be grateful that
Yeah.
it's me and her and that we can spend time, together.
Yeah. It's a
Sunday
blessing.
dinner is our thing. And
Yeah.
Doc, we are on the search for the best seafood platter in Virginia Beach. That is our Sunday thing,
That is so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, let's see. But yesterday we had Spot. She loves Spot. My father loves Spot, and that Spot, for all those who are not seafood eaters, is a type of fish, and I don't like
Oh.
it. It's a bony fish, it's a bony fish, but she likes it. And that
Oh.
ability to spend that time with her on Sundays, and it's football season, basketball season will be coming along, and being, like you said, being grateful to have those moments with her
Yeah.
each Sunday, each time, where we can laugh a little bit. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the name of the author and podcast, and you may know. She talks about relationships, and she's from one of the Eastern Bloc countries. I can't remember her name, but she has a deck of cards that she's put out for couples.
Mm.
But it's around intimacy and relationships. And what I
Yeah.
did was basically get that. And I actually asked my mom questions that she can think about, that she can have memories of my father, you know?
Mm.
And, one of the questions was, how did you fall in love with dad? Or the question was like, do you remember when we fell in love? You know?
Yeah.
And so asking her, when was it, do you remember those moments when you fell in love with dad? And those moments allow me to, really get inside what she was thinking when she was 25.
That's so
And
cool.
it is. And so, I love what you said around finding that gratitude of life and being grateful of those moments when you think like, man, what is going on? And
Yeah.
the practice of gratitude and writing down. And I think the last thing I say is that it's the last, I hear you say it's the first thing for you, but it's the last thing for me. I'm
Yeah.
closing my eyes and like, what am I grateful for?
Mm-hmm.
From the day, and
Yeah.
typically it's my interactions with some of my closest friends, a laughter with my childhood best friend, Quince Griffin, us being silly on the phone after a friendship
Yeah.
that is 47 years old, or
Man.
spending time, laughing with my girlfriend and her granddaughter at this point in
Mm-hmm.
time, being grateful for that. So thank you for illuminating that practice, that gratitude will drive us forward even in the midst of chaos.
Yeah. It really can. And it takes time to, really get into a good practice. Like you said, whether it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, but it really shifts your perspective
Yeah.
because those are the things, I mean, those are the things that just save you, especially through difficult times. Your
Yeah.
mindset, your perspective, how you think about gratitude, those things are that can really help to get you through. And I love what you shared about your mom, actually. I think that's so special because I interviewed she's now, what is she now? 94-year-old grandma. But when she was 89, I interviewed her. There's like some, book on Amazon, like interview your parent or grandparent or something like that. And it was so cute, just like you said, because I brought her back to just things I never knew about her. I mean, she, was 89 at the time, and just her growing up in Jamaica and like just her different experiences. And I
Mhm.
remember even for her, she talked about gratitude too and like how she
Yeah.
got through her life. I mean, she had just a different upbringing. She grew up in Jamaica and life was different, 90 something plus
Yeah.
years ago than how I grew up. But nonetheless, like just like her having the gratitude, her having her positive attitude throughout her
Mhm.
life and how it just got her through hardships. It was really cool to just hear that perspective. So you reminded me of that. And it's just a really cool thing to do anyway, is just to interview someone from a different time period than we lived. It's just cool to hear their perspective. So I thought it was special what you did too.
Yeah, yeah. The author's name of the intimacy cards are Esther Perel. So everybody's heard
Mm,
of Esther Perel, and yeah, and it is. I love that you bring it up, that this intergenerational conversation that folks can
yeah.
have. Yeah, um, and particularly after someone is, a loved one has gone, or you're hearing about their life experiences, you
Yeah.
know. And if we're thinking about a theme, their mindset during these periods of their lives. What were you thinking, and how did you handle stress, or how did you
Yeah.
handle, like, what made you happy? What brought
Hmm.
you, the little things in, that brought you joy? Because like you said, being grateful for some of those little things that, they didn't have all of the trinkets that
No.
we have the ability to play with. Or my mom didn't think about, hey, I'm going to go to Bali, or I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
Dominican Republic, or I'm going to spend, weeks in Italy drinking wine. And so what were the little things, like, and I won't go through the litany of things, but it's often interesting to hear that intergenerational perspective, to put it into perspective for us. Like,
Absolutely.
slow down.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't have all these
Yeah.
things, and I was happy. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah. I was happy.
There was no podcast.
There was no
90 something years
podcast.
ago.
There was three channels. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Three
If
channel
that.
and a transistor radio. And look, and I was happy. Your dad and I would dance in the kitchen, cooking. All of the things. Yeah, exactly. So you dropped a book, September,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure I say mindset training, conquer your mind, and the rest will follow. I remember that's the song, and the rest will follow. That's got to be if I remember correctly. But yes, so you dropped the book. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What has that been like?
Oh
Since
my
the
gosh.
dropping of that book back in September 2024.
It's been a whirlwind in a good way. um, oh my goodness. So that particular book, I was working with a team
Mm.
to hit a bestseller list,
Yeah.
USA Today bestseller list, which did end up happening by the grace of God.
Congratulations.
And a lot of
Wow.
guidance. Thank you. It was a lot of work. But yeah, it was a lot of work. I had to work also on making sure I didn't hit burnout as I'm,
Yeah.
working on this book about burnout, like just being transparent. But the after of it has been so beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really excited that we hit our goals of hitting the list. But another thing I will honestly say as an author that has been really like special to me is
Mm.
when people will DM or I'll talk to people and they say like, this book changed my life.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
they'll tell me like their favorite part of the book. Like that means so much to me. Like
Yeah.
I really means a lot to me because I really, really wanted the book to be transformational for someone. That was one of my books that I wrote from my heart and also, of course, knowledge. But that journey for me has been very rewarding. I will
Yeah.
say just to hear those stories from people. So yeah,
Do me a favor.
it's been a good journey. It's been a good journey.
Yeah. No, and congratulations again.
Thank
Do me a favor.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Do me a favor. If you could think about themes when folks are running up to you, Dr. Nekeshia, this book changed my life. Like, what are some of the sayings? Like, it changed my life. How? What are they saying
You
to
know,
you?
yeah, a lot of people, I think, the theme would be it gives people permission almost. And I know it sounds odd,
Mm.
but we just live in a society sometimes where we don't understand that we are worthy of self care. We
Yeah.
deserve to have
Mhm.
joy. You deserve to be emotionally healthy. Like
Yeah.
you are allowed to thrive. We don't have to live in burnout all the time. Balance is possible. I strongly believe that, even though we're taught like, no, you're never going to be in balance, which I'm like, that's
Mhm.
ridiculous. Not all the time you will be, but it is possible to be grounded. It is possible to use stress management techniques. It is possible to live a thriving, happy life. So I think that's the theme that I've heard from a lot of people, just like getting permission to be like,
Yeah.
it's okay to take care of myself. Which brings me so much joy. I want people to think that way. I want people to know that that's possible for them. It just really is. And I will say transparently, as a person who's spent most of my life not taking care of myself
Yeah.
until I had this, my, epiphany moment, if you will, to be like, no, no, this can't work. I have to make a lot of changes to live a healthier life. I just love when people have those moments too of breakthrough and can say, you know what, let me try something different for me, because you're worthy of having a better life. Like you're allowed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. No, I definitely appreciate that theme of I'm reading the book and I'm worthy. I'm worthy of having a
Yes.
better life. I don't have to sit in this feeling of burnout phase and
No.
this John Henryism that we see, and particularly amongst people of color.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I am. It's interesting. I'm going to recommend your book to my book club. Yes, I'm in a book club,
Oh,
Revolutionaries. Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like it is a group of men. Yeah, men do have book clubs as well. So you should think, men, if you're listening to this, you could be a part of something that has typically been deemed as feminine. And it's one of the best communities that I've been a part of from an intellectual perspective. But we talk about this, and this is high level CEOs and military leaders and, men from, who are, C suite, all of the things.
Yeah.
And we talk about this, not even this word that seems to be, you know, loosely described as feminine. Women do self care. Men,
Mm-hmm.
men do other things. Men drive hard. They are aggressive. They are, hardworking, all of the things. Women go, and because I think when we think about self care, Doc, we think about, I'm going to go pamper myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get my
Yeah.
hair done, my
Yeah.
nails done. I'm going to do some retail therapy, all of the things.
Yeah.
But we are humans, regardless of gender, regardless of the social
Exactly.
construct of gender, we are humans. And the body does tire, the mind does weaken, decision fatigue is a thing. Both of us know this, that,
Yes.
right. And particularly the higher the cortisol levels in your brain, your decision fatigue actually comes faster.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about and you're thinking about mothers or fathers who are single parents or living in who are struggling, who are working 2 and 3 jobs and coming home and having to educate children and take care of family members and all of the things. They're like, self-care, what?
Yes.
But finding ways to do that, even if it's small things, small things. If you had some advice, for someone just to say, look, I understand that you may not have like the ability to go to Bali at this point in time, but it's coming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if there were a couple small things on how to take some self-care during the day, what would you say?
Yeah. That's great. And I do want to address also what you said, because I hear it too, and I cringe when I hear it, that self care is only for women, or we think
Mm-hmm.
of self care as just like, I don't know, getting your nails done or pedicures or massages or that sort of thing, which can be that, sure, but also absolutely equally men need self care too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? It's funny because I was speaking at this event. Anyways, different corporate leaders were there, and a lot of men in the room stood up because we were, just discussing certain things, and it was like, it's like, oh, we're allowed to do this too. And it's like, yes,
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
take care of yourself
Yeah.
too. Like several men. And to your point, I heard from them, and I get it. Cause again, society just tells us all these things that are not true sometimes. Like you have to be strong. You can't have emotions. You have to work hard. Please work hard. Everybody listening to this,
Yeah.
please work hard. I
Yeah.
am not an advocate. I'm not working hard. I would be a hypocrite. I work a lot. I work hard too. And also have the self-care. And it's the same thing for men. So whether it's taking short breaks throughout the day,
Yeah.
this is something that a lot of the burnout research shows, like what they call micro breaks are so
Mm.
important, because it's really easy to feel like you're so driven that you're working through lunch, you're working through dinner, you're not getting up from your seat if you're working from home, if you're remote or whatever the case is, and it's actually very draining to your mind
Yeah.
and your body
Yeah.
to do that, to have no breaks. It feels like you're being productive because you can check off a bunch of things on the to-do list, if you will, or the tasks or whatever it is for your job, for example.
Mhm.
But actually you are, like you said, the cortisol levels are going up. You're breaking down your mind and your
Yeah.
body. And
Yeah.
if you don't take a break, your body will take a break for you at
Your
some
body
point.
will take a break. You're
It
exactly right.
just will. So again, even again, I can name off of 300 things, but for the sake of, a shorter conversation, I would say definitely to have the micro breaks, the
Yeah.
1 minute break, the 5 minute break, the 10
Mhm.
minute break, small amount of breaks during your day, and be intentional about that, and understand whatever gender you are or are not, you deserve to have that. It
Yeah.
will help you actually be more productive when you take breaks for yourself.
I agree. I agree. There's a book that I love. And I want to say it's this passage that I'm about to talk about is in the 15 Commitments to Conscious Leadership. And
Mm.
in this book, it describes a CEO, two CEOs, and their mornings. And one is this hard charging CEO who gets up at 4:30 in the morning and is, gone, boom, comes home, is not really present with his family, continues to work. And then the second one is this CEO who gets up and expresses gratitude in the morning,
Mm.
does yoga, mindfulness meditation, starts work, at about 9:30 or 10 with her team and has a meaningful meeting, works, takes important things, and takes a break during the day just to kind of reset, and and it can
Yeah.
be yoga or something, or a run during the middle of the day, then goes back to work again, working with team in a very collaborative setting, leaves work about 5 or 6, spends time with their family, making sure to have meals and all the things so they can be present for that aspect,
Yeah.
and then goes to bed at a regular time. And
Hmm.
you know the culture, I mean, and the question is coming, the culture that I see right now is this 24/7, 24/7, like go 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 go. How do we overcome, because I'm seeing it everywhere, particularly in this society and in American society and
Yeah.
American culture right now? How do we, like, provide a counter narrative to that when we know that if I'm looking for alternatives, that I can make that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, funny, someone brought that up at a corporate talk I was at, because, well, I won't say the name of the company, of course, but they were essentially saying, some of the employees were saying, hey, we're in this field where we have to work our 60, 70, or maybe 80-hour weeks. And it's not like we can, like, you know what, we're just going to do 20-hour weeks, right? So here's the thing about that, though. It's not even always the amount of hours per se, because the fact is someone can be working 70 hours a week, which would be obviously considered a lot of
Yeah.
hours, still have the self-care, still take the breaks, still have the mindset recharge type of mentality, versus someone that, let's say, does 30 hours, but it's just nonstop. Like, it's not always the number of hours, it's what are you doing during that time period. So
Yeah.
again, yes, there just are positions where it requires a high number of hours, but the difference is, what are you doing in the downtime? Are you still taking the micro breaks? Are you really paying attention to your mind and body and where you're at physically? Because I think for most of us, we sort of know where our limits are. We're like, okay, we are to the point where it's like we need a break, right, of some sort. So are we really paying attention to that, or are we just glossing over it and going to the next thing, to your point, in the go 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 mentality? And it does take a mindset shift, but also I think when we really recognize as a society that the productivity can still be there. I remember one time I was chuckling because I had a corporation ask me, like, anyways, because people think all sorts of things when they think of self-care, like, oh, are you saying, these people have to lower their hours? I'm like, no, not really. But I am saying though that you have to put in practices to make sure that you're thriving in what you're doing. Otherwise, we have plenty of research to show it's going to lead to people not going to work, getting sick, taking
Yeah.
time off because they can't do things, right? Like just being so stressed out. So it's just really important to work on getting to a place where we understand what's possible and that in the long run is actually going to benefit us anyway if we're taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. One of the things that I do with my own team, like the other day, it was a Thursday and the weather was beautiful. And
Mm,
I was like, are you done for the day? And some of them said, so yes. And others said no. And I was like, go home, enjoy the day. I was like, late fall is coming, winter's coming, and we won't be able to get out.
yeah.
Go. Yeah, just
Yeah.
go. I think that leaders need to be able to recognize that as well,
Yes.
because
Yes.
there will be those 12, 14-hour days where
Hmm.
we've gotta make it work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We've gotta make it work during those period of times. But being able to recognize that if I give a break right now, then we can do better work down the road because they're not
Yeah.
stressed, they're not burned out. And they actually recognize, hey, my boss said I can go. And that's the thing. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. As the book is dropped and people are talking, what new patterns of burnouts have you seen? Are you seeing amongst leaders particularly? What are they saying to you?
Mm. You know, interestingly enough, there's a lot happening actually. There's a lot that's happened this year. So sometimes the climate of the world, if you will, the external events are also, of course, affecting companies in different ways. So that also becomes a stressor. I've talked to some companies about that. I mean, their internal stresses is one thing, but the world around, laws changing, whatever, however that looks, also affects employees, it affects leaders. But I think what's most important is that, to your point, I'm glad you brought up that example earlier, that as leaders, if we think about coming from a place of empathic leadership, which
Yeah.
is a real thing, and understanding people are stressed out when the world feels heavy and there's a lot happening in the news, social media, and all the things that does impact workplaces as well. So as leaders, especially, how are we thinking? Like you said, you're like, hey, y'all want to go home? Like, y'all want to enjoy the weather today? Like in whatever way that looks like to support people and understanding people also have personal lives. There's also things going on in people's personal lives. And then there's this bigger, you know, stress, if you will, in the world that's happening. So understanding that, how can we as leaders also say, okay, how can we help your wellness? Like there's a lot of things we can do, but how can we keep that top of mind? How can people feel understood? How can they feel valued? Those are things that really help people to thrive too. People people know when they're in toxic work environments. That doesn't help
Yeah.
their mental health. We know that, right? But if you're at a place where you feel appreciated, you feel like people care about your mental health and wellness, yes, even though you might have whatever projects due and this and that, there's some flexibility if that's the case, or whatever that can be done. People thrive when they know other people care, is what it
Yeah.
really boils down to.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And I love that you keep saying that, that minute break or that short break.
Yes.
Yeah, that short break. What, you've got an empathic leader, they're saying go do the things you need to do.
Yeah.
And you're building on this. Like you've read the book. All right. You've read the book and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna go take my minute break.
Yeah.
What should I do during that time?
Lots of things. So during that time, one of my favorite things that I highly recommend, I will recommend this a gazillion times, but is really thinking about taking some deep breaths.
Yeah.
I know that something that it's not like, some new concept that people haven't heard before, but when you really work on making the commitment to that, it's something I still do to this day, several times a day, actually, but just really stopping, like taking 4 seconds to breathe in, holding it for 4 seconds, releasing it for 4 seconds. That's literally 12 seconds out of your day. You can do that a couple times actually throughout your
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You are training your mind and body to say, I understand, I am allowed to take a break.
Mhm.
Not to mention all the benefits that deep breathing has, anyways, to lower your or lower your blood pressure,
Yeah.
to get you back regulated with your, all the emotions that may be going on with you, and physically in your body, like practicing that, because a lot of times we live in fight or flight mode. I think we talked about
Yeah.
that last
That's
time. it's
we
it's
did.
just
We
not
did. Yes, we did.
it's not healthy to be in that chronic place of like, what's next, like that. It's not healthy for us. So taking deep breaths. If you believe in prayer, say a short prayer. If you need to walk outside, like you said, there's beautiful weather until the winter comes, take a quick walk outside. Like, there's so many things that you can do. Drink a cup of tea. I love my cup of teas.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's
No
so
doubt.
many things. Yeah, it's just what it is though. When I stress take a minute, it's really because for a lot of us, we're not even doing that, which is like the minimum. So it's just working on training your brain to recognize how important it is for you to take the quick pause, reset, and then go into the next thing. Even before meetings, too. Sometimes people have very stressful meetings you're about to go into. You take the pause, you say, hold up, let me take my minute, and then go into it. Like, or whatever it is that you have coming up. It's just really important for your brain to be trained to take those pauses instead
Yeah.
of just constantly going on the go, 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 like we said.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear that. Like, the box breathing
Yeah.
is one thing. I think one of the other things that I do is I'm trying to find places where joy came into my life, and to have those memories of,
Yes.
yeah, let me spend some time in getting my mind out of the monkey brain,
Yes. Oh,
where
yeah.
it's gone, and typically
Yeah.
it is when I'm taking a walk. Now, I'm in Virginia, and the summers are beautiful, the fall and spring are beautiful, so I can take a walk.
Yeah.
And for me, on those walks, it's me laughing at my father. My father was a funny, funny man,
No.
and yeah, but just kind of reminiscing times with him. And
Yeah.
those things bring me joy. So I wonder if if you implore or tell folks, think about some joyful moments that you've
Yeah.
had that get you out of thinking about what's going on in those moments, particularly if they are stressful moments.
Yeah. I do. I do. And I do something similar too. I travel to a gazillion places, I feel like. But what I did on my Instagram, for example, I have one of my highlights. It's literally hashtag take a minute. And it's
Okay, I love that.
been, I don't know now, like maybe 6, 7 years or something like that. But it's just full of different places, because that's something I had to personally do too, is learn how to take a minute at a minimum. And it's just different places because I love nature. So I'll look at my own highlight, that's on Instagram sometimes too, because it takes about a minute and a half to just see just the different places and remember, to your point, the places that brought me joy, the sunsets or the sunrises or
Yeah.
wherever it was, and throughout the US, or mountains. I love mountains, but I don't have any mountains in Florida, unfortunately. Right. But just going back to those positive places that brought you joy, that's a real thing. And what's interestingly enough about doing that is your brain, sometimes there's some research that shows sometimes your brain doesn't, I mean, your brain knows reality, but when you're even thinking and visualizing the places of joy, the the feelings that come up in your body, like the reactions, the
Yeah.
positive
Mhm.
flow of your body that happens too, and it's almost pretty much similar than you actually being in that place. So you
Mhm.
can practice that, like just seeing, like you said, the memories with your dad, or like memories of places, if people love beaches or mountains or parks or whatever it is that you loved and enjoyed, or positive moments, and it does something for you physically too and emotionally, to go back to those positive memories.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. One of my favorite shows over the last 10 years is Hannibal. And I won't go into,
What's
I
your
won't,
favorite show?
it's a great show. I mean, the series on
Is it a good show?
NBC. Yeah, it was a great show. It came on in the 2015, 2017, that type of era. Um,
Yeah.
but one of the main characters, and I won't give it away for those who have not seen it, but one of the main characters was jailed and was, basically had to basically create or recreate what he called his memory palace. And
Wow.
oftentimes, to be jailed, you're in a 6 by 6 cell, or, in this case, he was in a very small cell. But when they would come to him when he was imprisoned, is that they would show him fishing, fly fishing
Hmm.
somewhere. He was in the jail cell, but he had created this joyful place that he could get away from the realities that I'm in prison in this gray 6 by 6
Yes.
cell where I'm eating horrible food and they treat me poorly. And
Yeah.
so you see, like, they're calling his name is Will Graham, and they're saying, Will. And you see him looking, and all of a sudden now he's out of his memory path and back to reality. And it's very
Wow.
interesting to be able to, to recreate those great memories when we're sitting and thinking and drinking our tea, to remind
Yeah.
ourselves to be grateful as we started this conversation, that in the moment, yes, this thing may be happening to, I may be in the midst of chaos or the fire or something that is extremely uncomfortable or challenging, but can
Yeah.
I move into a space at least for a few moments
Yeah.
and get into my memory palace where something was joyful? The time walking in the monkey forest in Ubu, where you're feeding
Yes.
feeding bananas to
Love that.
the
Yeah.
little monkeys. Or I
Yeah.
think
So
back to
fun.
learning to surf in Seminyak in the Indian Ocean,
That
those
is
type
so
of
cool.
things. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, things like that. I know you
That's
understand
on my
because
list too, by the way. I want to learn
yeah,
how to surf.
man.
It's never too late, right?
Look, it is never too late. I'm actually, my Instagram and Facebook reels, the algorithm has got me. I stayed too long on a surfing reel, and so now it's showing me that and HBCU bands, which I'm having a
That's,
ball. I think I stayed up one night. You want
that's
to talk about
hilarious.
the joy when I do allow
Yeah.
myself to get on social media? I found myself
Yeah.
one night late listening to Southern and Jackson,
Yeah.
and Jackson State and FAMU and Norfolk State's bands, you
Yeah.
know, battling, and I just was smiling. You want to talk about joy? I
Yeah.
had joy. Like, I'm up. It was like, wait a minute, it's 12:30. I need to go to bed, and I've just been listening to them play, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that brought me a lot of joy. And I think that
Yeah.
was one of the purposeful uses of social media in that moment, because we
Yes.
also know that social media can cause burnout, it can cause
Of
stress,
course.
it can
Yeah.
cause, all of the debilitating things that we talk about that don't happen in the workplace or caregiving, what we're seeing on social media. I'd love for you to talk about that, what you're seeing from a burnout perspective on social media, and what are some of the
Yeah.
remedies that we might have for that?
Yeah. The hardest thing that I hear, well, two things. It's interesting because I hear both sides from people. One is people admitting, which is a, many of us do it, right? Is a comparison trap, if you will.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
correct.
look on social media, we're like, well, how come that person got fill in the blank, the promotion that I wanted, or they
Right.
have the house that I want, or they have the quote unquote perfect relationship, which doesn't exist, or they have this or that. Like we see all these things on social media. Half the time, you all please realize it's a highlight reel. And then I have the other side where I hear from people how they will admit like there's a lot going on in their life. They don't feel comfortable sharing like 95% of their life. So they purposely will put things on social media to make them look a certain way, which is
Yeah.
nowhere from the reality of their life. I mean, many people have been like, I don't want people to know, fill in the blank, I'm depressed or burnt out or
Yeah.
anxious or whatever I'm feeling. So I'm just gonna, it's like create this whole story. And I'm like, oh, that like, which has nothing to do with their life because they're trying to keep a certain image, right? But what that does, so again, it's like the both sides of it. The other side of it is all of us, I say all of us because we're all guilty of it sometimes, of looking and doing the comparison thing, which can lead to burnout. That's a real thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or doom scrolling, as they call it. We
Yeah.
just look
Yeah.
through all this negative stuff. But I'm glad you brought that up. The positive side of it, though, is there are things on there on social media that if Yes, algorithm is a real thing, but if you're tuning into it that
Yeah.
are inspirational, that are
Mhm.
uplifting, that are
Yes.
funny, that bring them joy, but we have to choose to also be looking at that as well. It's, I mean, it's sort of like what do you tune into with whatever podcast or what you're
Mhm.
listening to
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
news or whatever it is. Like we have a decision to make too, and we have to be conscious of it because it does go both ways for sure.
Yeah. I think that there's also that FOMO that comes with social
Oh
media that
yeah. Oh
if
my
I'm not
gosh.
on it, I'm missing something. And
Yeah.
yeah, what I realize is that social media goes on with or without you. Like
It does.
you can take a break and come back and you didn't miss a beat. And
Yeah.
I think that as you talk about burnout and taking moments and taking, having strategies that mitigate burnout, I think that also taking time off from social media that, because what we're seeing, and one of my favorite commentators and podcasters is Scott Galloway, Prof G. And he talks about social media being in this, rage machine and how the prophetizing of social media and what that has done.
Mm,
And I
wow.
hypothesize that we from a stimulus perspective, let's get high level. Let's get high level from a stimulus perspective is that I'm paid for the more followers and the likes that I have.
Hmm.
And but we as humans, get numb to certain stimuli and then we
Yeah.
move on. And so what happened
Yeah.
in my hypothesis is to keep people looking at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, I have to begin to say more and do more outlandish things.
That makes sense.
And,
Yes.
what Prof G and I hypothesize is that the more that we say the more outlandish things, how do they become more divisive? Because we know that if I say this group of folks is going to side with me,
Yep.
and this other group of folks is going to be mad with me. And so
Hmm.
now all of a sudden I've got all of these eyes looking at me, one from the negative side, one from the positive, and it keeps growing. So what do I keep saying? I got to keep saying more outlandish stuff. And we've got this algorithm now that is feeding
Oh yeah.
one side or the other, and we're mad
Yes.
at each other and we're mad at each other and we're wondering like, but why are we mad at each other?
Hmm.
And then it becomes exhausting. And what I realized, Doc, is
It
that
is.
if you don't have the wherewithal within social media or the emotional intelligence to actually sift and filter and take a break,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
you
Yes.
could wind up like one of these people. And we're seeing, you want to talk about burnout? We're seeing a tremendous, what it looks like is a rise in violence and gun violence in this country. Every day it seems like
Hmm.
there's a mass shooting.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. Yeah.
Every day. And it's somebody who's angry about something or
Yeah.
someone or some ideology or some theology, all the things. And Doc, so I wonder if you're talking to these folks who are sitting on social media, who are angry, who are being, led astray. What's the sentence that you say to them to say, you know what? Yo, there's another way to this.
Yeah. And I have definitely recommended that people take breaks from social media,
Yeah.
to your point, because it is it is just not healthy sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times to be inundated. Our brains aren't really meant to process the amount of information that we are constantly processing. It is not normal to constantly be hearing of mass shootings, to constantly be seeing people shot, killed, like like it's not normal for us to constantly be bombarded with all the negativity and
Yeah.
the images and the sounds. Like it, we have to take a break from it. And also to your point, I had a lot of conversations with people also who are, they are angry,
Angry.
and which comes out as road rage and all sorts of different ways that anger can come out. But also understanding how important it is, I mean, for everyone listening to this, how important it is to make sure you have people who are supportive in your life,
Yeah.
who can help you.
Yeah.
If you're to that place where you're like, I'm so
Mhm.
angry, I'm so angry, because yeah, it's really important that we, like you said, have the emotional intelligence or have someone to help us guide us through our strong emotions that
Mhm.
come up when we see a lot of things that can be very infuriating. Is that your best friend? Is that your
Yeah.
family member? Is that
Yeah.
your therapist or whomever
Mhm.
to help you deal with those strong emotions?
Yeah.
Because some things I believe are there to kind of create strong emotions within us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do
I
we
mean,
deal with that?
I even find myself like, and then I have to say,
Yeah.
okay, it's time to get off.
Yeah.
Like it's time to get off. And I think that's the thing, being cognizant of it's time to
Exactly.
get off. It's time to get
Yeah.
off. But I think that and this is a hypothesis that people will allow that rage to keep going,
Mm,
and they'll keep scrolling. They'll keep scrolling, and it's that never ending cycle now. I'm
yeah.
angry, and then the more and more and more it keeps, because the algorithm says, "Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to keep showing you Charlie Kirk's
Yeah.
death. I'm going to keep showing you the liberal left. I'm going to keep showing you the radical right. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep showing all the things that right now you're there. Now you're angry. You're like, ah, and
Yeah.
that is, and that too, over time, as we've talked about, you get burned out.
You do.
You get burned out, and then unfortunately, as I said earlier, some folks have taken that rage into very, very nefarious means.
Hmm.
And I think that your book is really saying, like, mindset. When you're in a space, when you can recognize, I think that's the thing,
Yeah.
recognizing that I'm in a space of burnout, that I'm in a space where I am
Hmm.
tapped.
Yeah.
What are the strategies and what can I do to move away from that, to get myself back to a place of equilibrium, to center myself? And I think that takes a level of emotional intelligence, Doc. Would you agree?
It does. It does. And it's like you said, it really boils down to self-awareness. It's very possible. It's not an overnight process,
Yeah.
but there is a process of recognizing, like you said, I mean, there are physical signs of burnout, there's mental
Yeah.
signs of burnout, there's emotional signs of burnout, but understanding what all those are and like checking in with yourself is a
Yeah.
real thing
Hmm.
because it's really easy, like you said, to get caught up on social media, caught up with the news, caught up with your personal life, like the people in your life that are maybe there's drama going on. I don't know. Like there's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so much happening. And it's often easy to lose sight of ourselves and where we're
Hmm.
at in our own wellness journey. But working on that self-awareness, how am I doing? What do I need physically, spiritually, emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally? Like what are your needs? How do you how do you improve your life? Sometimes it's just baby steps, which is okay. Sometimes it's a leap. Are you, taking those minutes? Are you taking the micro breaks? Who
Yeah.
is in your corner to support you? Like
Yeah.
all those things are important if we're saying we want to be better versions of ourselves, which I think for most of us, we do want that. So it is taking those steps.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple minutes ago, as we begin to, land this, is
Yeah.
having a support group.
Yeah.
What does that look like, putting together like a burnout prevention or a burnout mitigation group? And I know these are very like technical terms, but
Yeah.
what does it look like, to bring together your people,
Hmm.
particularly in a midst where, just, where you're holding up the white flag or the red flag, like, I'm burned
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
What is that like? How do you say, I need a group, not just one, but I need a group of people, and how do you then bring
Yeah.
them together?
Yeah. I think what's really cool is because everyone in your circle can offer different insights and
Mhm.
experiences. So hopefully, maybe from your work, whatever work looks like for you, there's a couple people from there. They may not
Mm,
know everything about you like your best friend does, but they have some level of insight if you're working with them on whatever project you're
mhm.
working on. So maybe it's a couple people from there. Maybe it is your best friend from
Mm-hmm.
childhood or, 20 years or however many years. Maybe that person's in your corner too, right? Maybe you do have a family member that's supportive of you. Maybe you do have a life coach or business coach or mental health professional or someone else, right? So it's honestly like a team of people. And I will say personally too, that has always worked well for me as well. Like right now, putting together my first in-person event, not gonna lie, it's
Yeah.
stressful, but I have some really amazing entrepreneur friends of mine who get it. They're like, we got you, girl. We're doing our thing too, type of thing. So they're checking in. And I'm like, hey, it's stressful, but they get it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then there's, of course, family that's supportive. And then there's coaches that are supportive. Like, but it takes a team of people, and it doesn't have to be that, like 20 people here. Maybe it's 2 or 3 people, right? But the point is that there has to be quality people in your life. And if you're listening to this and you're like, nope, I don't know of anybody that's, quality in my life, then your job is to look for that said group, right? And again, it doesn't have to come from one place, but you really, really need, I would say, a minimum of like 2 to 3
Yeah.
solid people in
Yeah.
your life
Yeah.
who you can touch base with, you can talk to, who will help you get through. Right. And it may, like I said, it may come from different groups of people that mean different things to you in different areas of your life. And that's okay. But you don't
Yeah.
have to do this alone. I just hope
No,
someone hears that.
no.
You don't have to do
Yeah.
this process
Yeah.
alone.
No, and we say that being able to bring folks along,
Yeah.
that yeah, revolutions are not done alone. And
No.
yeah, if you want to get to the goal and you're burned out, you got to bring somebody along, and not bring somebody along with your burnout, but
Yeah.
bring folks along to have your back, to talk.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
that's the thing, and for the men listening to the show, like, it's okay to say that. Like, you don't have to have the John Henryism or the feeling that you can't say, "Look, I'm struggling with this decision," or "I've
Yeah.
been working my ass off trying to grind." Because I think one of the things that we see, you and I both run multiple businesses,
Yeah.
and that's a thing. And
Yeah.
we do get to that, we do hit that wall, and I think the wall
Mm-hmm.
for me happens when I realize that I'm not asking for help, that I'm trying to
Mm.
do everything myself. And
Yeah.
this, I think, for a lot of folks, and this is a hypothesis, is that there's an embarrassment around asking for help. Like, I shouldn't have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And but the most successful people I know how to ask for help, because there are areas where we're just not good. And we don't need to
Yeah.
be good. We just don't need to be good. There are folks that have skill sets that are far greater than us than, in certain
Mm-hmm.
areas. And we need to say, look, I need help.
Yeah.
And for me, at the recording of this show, I've been managing my own rental properties for a while, and I realized that it's taking time and I need help.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
need to get over the fact that I'm going to pay a little bit extra, you know,
Yes.
but it gives me my time back, and I'm going to let
Yes.
somebody else stress about it, you know, and those types of things. And asking for help, even in moments of burnout, like, I just need to talk.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll say this. I think the biggest question that we have when we're on the other side, someone that comes to us, is that, what do you need in this moment?
Mm.
And for me, Doc, and I would love to hear your thoughts, is that, and maybe it's my stubbornness, but oftentimes I don't need the feedback. I just need a place to talk.
Yeah.
But when somebody starts to give me unsolicited feedback, that just
Yeah.
then increases my burnout, because I was like, wait a minute, I look, what do you think about that? Because it's a question that I learned a long time ago, to say, what do you need in this moment?
Yeah. I love that. That's something I preach also, because a lot of times we think we're helping people,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just not the way that they need to be helped.
Yeah.
So it's so important, if you do feel like someone in your life may need some sort of help in some
Yeah.
way, exactly how you said, you can ask them, how can I support you?
Yeah.
Right? Because people will let you know. They might be like, hey, I just need you to listen,
Yeah.
or I do need your advice, or help me with this particular area of my life. But I think when I say we, all of us have to just be really cautious in how we think we're helping people, because we like so we all experience help in different ways.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there, to your point too, especially when it comes to men, there are a lot of ways actually that I've seen men bond. And I don't know, I feel like it's changing over time though. Like I see different groups of like men support groups, whether it's at a place of worship, whether it's some type of sporting event
Um,
or barbershop or wherever. Like there, it's like it's becoming more acceptable for men to talk to one another.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you need
yeah, yeah,
support
yeah.
too, or like go to a mental health professional, or however it shows up. Like I'm seeing a lot more support, which I think is really cool, actually, for men specifically to be like, you know what? Maybe I do need to talk about something. Like maybe I do
Yeah,
need
yeah, yeah.
help in
I
some
totally
areas.
agree with you, and I'm gonna tell a story. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna tell all of the story because I don't want to give the particulars away, but I'll say it like this: I was a part of a fellowship a couple of years ago. I actually was leading the fellowship, and we had an incident with one of the fellows, and I happened to see the fellow the other night when I was emceeing an event in Washington, and we've always been close. We remain close. He's been on the show. He's a prominent entrepreneur, but we've never really talked about what happened that day. And we saw each other and we were talking, and he said, "I need to tell you something." And he did begin to divulge what was going on and what happened that day.
Yeah.
And that's been 7 or 8 years since that event
Wow.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave him this huge hug and I said, "Thank you," because I've always wondered.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I always wondered what happened that day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for him to have the transparency and vulnerability to finally say, "This is what was happening and this is what was going on,"
Yeah.
and to open up, and I was like, "Wow, how many people would have told that story?" And I think that, as you
Mm-hmm.
say, and me, one, I was grateful that he told me the story.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful. And two, having the empathy to say, "Wow, you were going through something."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, empathy is not a made up word. All right. It is not a new age. It's not a new age word. Empathy, look, like to be
No.
empathetic is to find understanding and feeling for, and I want to be empathetic. I want to see the
Yeah.
humanity in folks. And I think that, as you said, when we are burned out, we want somebody to see us.
Yes.
We want somebody to see us, and so I definitely appreciate it. If someone's reading the book, Doc, what do you want them to take away?
Oh, that's a great question. I would really, I think I said it like 45 times in the book. But I really stressed to make yourself your number one priority.
Yeah,
Um, when you really make your mental health and your wellness your number one priority, life looks a lot different for you.
yeah,
And it looks
yeah,
different for you, but it also looks different for the people around you, which is pretty cool
mhm,
too.
yeah, yeah. Make yourself your number one priority. Yeah, you got to.
Yes.
Like, I love me first. My father would, my father would say this. And I'd be like, "Dad, you're so selfish." He would be like, "Look, self preservation is the first law of nature." He would say that all the
See?
time. He
Brilliant
would
man.
say, my dad was great. He would say that self preservation is the first law of nature. And I'd be like, "Man, what are you talking about?" But he's right. If
Yeah.
you are not self aware, if you're not taking care of yourself, right,
Yeah.
you cannot take care of others. And this conversation
Exactly.
is important because my social media team to say, social self care is not selfish, it's strategic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it really, really
strategic.
is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was like, where'd y'all get that today? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I was like,
I love
they
that.
must have
Yes.
known I was gonna talk to Dr. Nekeshia today. You know what I'm saying? So I need to ask you my favorite question. Dr.
Okay.
Dr. Nekeshia Hammond, psychologist, speaker, and author of let me make sure I have it correct. Mindset, conquer your mind, and the rest will follow. What's your revolution?
Hmm. I think my revolution would be continuing on this journey of really making sure that mental wellness is a massive part of my life as
Yeah.
well. It's something, of course, I preach, but I'm also doing my best to practice what I preach as well, because the calling to help a lot of people also comes with a lot of responsibility of also taking care of myself and my mental health
Yeah. Yeah.
and wellness. So it's that like help others, help yourself, help others, help yourself, like that journey. And it's a process, of course, as I mentioned, but yeah, I would definitely say that's been the revolution for me, the progression
Yeah.
for me, if you will.
That's it. And it speaks across everything you do. We're just
Yeah,
so happy for all your success and what
thank
you're
you.
doing in the world, taking time to say, hey, you need to take some time for you. And this is what it looks like,
Yes,
to thrive in this world, like to thrive, to wake up and be grateful for the life that you have, and to thrive, to
yeah,
enjoy your family and to enjoy your friends and enjoy the vocation that you so set out to choose.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so thank you for your time. Folks, make sure you go out and get this best-selling, right? USA Today best-selling book by Dr. Nekeshia Hammond, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the rest will follow. I swear I want to break out in song every time I
Maybe laugh.
every, every time I say that. But make sure you go out and conquer that book, Revolutionaries, because it's going to change your life. It's going to revolutionize your life. And as we say here all the time, if you need some support, check out the website, what'syourrevolution.com, where you can schedule some time with me to talk about how we can help you move into the most revolutionary version of your life. We look forward to the next time that we're with you. As we say here all the time, I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.